Okay. I'm assuming it's recording. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We finally are getting to be able to share this information with you after a few weather events. So we are happy that you're able to see this in your time. It will be posted on the website, so you'll be able to look at it and stop it and start again. And if you have any questions, you'll be able to see this information and get in touch with the counselor. So my name is Brenda Posnanski. I'm the Director of School Counseling and Admission. And with me today is the counseling staff. And I see Ms. Tenza first. So Ms. Tenza, you can introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Andrea Tenza. As my first year here at Bishop Guertin, happy to be here. I work primarily with the freshmen and transfer students.
The next I see is Mrs. Leonard.
Hi there, I'm Jill Leonard. I primarily work with freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and it's also my first year, so I'm happy to be here today.
And next is Mr. Mullen, our Associate Director.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I work with students in all 4 grades, typically from the end of the alphabet, starting with N through Z.
And then Ms. Futrell.
Hi, I'm Lisa Futrell. I work with all 4 years, and I work with the beginning of the alphabet up till about the letter E.
Great, thank you. So I hope you can all see the screen. The next thing we're going to talk about is the agenda. We're going to go through the course selection calendar. It changed a little because of snow. And so Ms. Leonard will share with you some of those changes as far as the calendar goes. Mr. Mullen and Ms. Futrell will explain the online course selection program and what that looks like. So we have some screenshots of what the students will be able to see in their portal. And then Ms. Tenza is going to share some thoughts about course selection, talking about balance, things like that. And then Ms. Futrell will also help her out there with the 4-year plan and mark your calendars for upcoming events that will be happening. And then any questions that we have received, we're going to answer in this section. And then I'm going to go on to the advanced placement presentation, which will talk specifically about advanced placement program here and the courses and the exam and how that all works with students with their transcripts and when they apply to college. So first off will be Mrs. Leonard.
Hi, everybody again. So I'm just going over the dates that we just talked about a little while ago and how they kind of changed a little bit based on the weather event we had this week. So on Monday this past week, which seems like years ago, seems like a long time ago, we distributed the program of studies to all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors so they can select for their next year of high school. And the portal opened that same day at 3 o'clock. So students hopefully are starting to kind of look at that and explore their options for their next year of high school. So the parent information night obviously got canceled, but in lieu of that, we're doing this recording for you today. And so based on the weather event and because students don't have school tomorrow, we are keeping the online portal open until March 24th at 8 a.m. So that's next Friday, 8 a.m. So students will have an extra few days to make those selections, talk to their teachers or the department chairs about if they're seeking to take an AP or an honors course or get some feedback on that basically. And they can also talk to their counselors to get some input from us as well if they have any lingering questions. And then from March 28th through the 30th, department chairs review the requests for honors and AP classes. So again, it's important for students to communicate with their teachers and the department chairs if they're seeking those courses to kind of make sure we're all on the same page. And after that is said and done on, let's see, the 30th. So the counselors will start to meet with students after department chairs review those requests. It seems like March 31st to April 3rd, but correct me if I'm wrong, will be those dates. that will meet with students as needed and adjust their schedules as needed, or requests, I should say. And then on April 4th, students will be able to view their final requests in MyBG. And another important piece that students will need to have signed by parents, department chairs, and their counselors, and themselves, really, the AP contracts. Those are due on March 30th. But Mrs. Poznansky will go over this in more detail. And then towards the end of July will be when students will be able to view their schedules. Basically, what the requests do, it helps to drive what our needs are for classes and like how many teachers we need for certain sections. So it takes a good chunk of time to take those requests and kind of put them towards creating a schedule. So that's why you see kind of like a large window of time between the requests and the creation of the schedule. Anything else? Also, it's important to know if students do not pick their classes online, and the counselors will be doing it for them. So it's really important for a student to do that, and parents can log in with them, like have your student log in and sit with them and do it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to the counselor, the teacher, department chair. We're all working on this together, and it should be a collaborative effort. And each student should have a copy of the program of studies from Monday. So you can look through that, and it gives so much information in there, and it can answer a lot of your questions. Anything that you guys want to add that I might have missed? You're on mute, Brenda.
Thank you. Sorry. We're a little rusty with Zoom conferencing. So by the end of the week, beginning of next week, the program of studies will be online. So even if your student has left the POS in their locker or whatever, it will be online. And Ms. Futrell and Mr. Mullen will also share with you how the student can see actually the course description and the prerequisites on the portal when they click on the course to register for. So yeah, I think that's it. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Ms. Leonard. Oh. So Mr. Mullen and Ms. Futrell.
So the explanation of course selection. So the systematically aligns to choose 7 periods of classes. Of those classes, it's broken down by subject. So when they log in, they'll be able to see every specific subject that we offer. And then it's designed for grade level. So certain students won't be able to see upper level classes unless they're in that particular grade. So for sophomores, they'll see the sophomore classes, and for juniors, and they'll see the junior classes, and so on. One of the things we always recommend is on the back of the program of studies, which they were all given on Monday. There's a 4-year worksheet, so they can kind of map out the courses they should take and then kind of project what classes they want to take. And right next to the blank sheet, there's a traditional student worksheet that they can see what a typical BG student takes from a curriculum standpoint from freshman year through senior year, with all of the graduation requirements listed in it, as well as on page 3 of the program of studies. So how does this fit in with the 8-period rotation? So the students will select their 7 credits. They don't have to select a study. That's automatically done for them on the basis of them having 7 credits. And then the 8th period, if you will, would be the academic period for them during the day that they automatically get during first semester and second semester. So how to log in and select courses. When the students log into MyBG, most of them will take it to the My Day portion. If that's what they're going to do, they'll see on the upper left-hand side the option for course requests. If they simply click on that, that will take them to the page where they can register for courses. If that's something they don't see, then they can go back to the My Day option, and course requests will also be on there. But once they click on course requests, they'll see the instructions page that we're looking at right now. As you can see, it's broken down by every subject we offer at BG. And then if they were to click on a specific one, you know, in this case, click on theology, they'll see the theology classes that we offer, and they would just simply select that one class. Where it says in the highlighted portion, first semester, second semester, or now I believe it says first term, second term. That just means the class is being offered the entire year. It's a year-long course. If you see first term, that doesn't mean the class only runs first term. It just means it's a half semester class. Having said that, some classes only run first semester and second semester. That's dependent on how the schedule is broken down. And that's something that, should there be a conflict, the counselors will speak directly with your son or daughter regarding how it's impacting their overall schedule. I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Futrell now, who's going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of the actual selecting of courses.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. As students are looking at each different course that's listed, when they scroll down, they'll see a list of departments, and under there'll be information about each course. So when they click on the course, it gives them pretty much the information that's listed in the program of study. So it'll tell them about the prerequisites, the values of the course, the length. If it's, as Mr. Mullen said, you know, a half year or full year course. And all that information is listed right there. So if they don't meet the prerequisites, it will tell them, you know, what they need to take. And so they should know this based on what they've had prior to coming into the course. And again, all of it is listed in their program of study. So when you're doing this process, it'd be nice to have the program of studies next to you. So you know, have you taken the prior classes that you need? Do you have the grade that you need? Have you completed any of the paperwork? So for instance, for English, they do have to complete an application prior to taking the course if they want to do honors or the AP classes for the upperclassmen. So all of that information is in the, you know, online when they're filling this out. So they'll get a pop-up message when they have taken a class already, or if there's a prerequisite, they simply click on the class when they're going through this to confirm if they want to take that class. And then what it will do is add that course, if they want to take a certain course, into their line, into the other side of the course selection. So if they want to take a course, they put add requests and they confirm it, and it adds it to their course requests, which would be on the next slide. So anytime they're adding courses, they just confirm the request. It puts it onto the other section from the left side to the right side. If they want to delete something, they can just click the red X and it will delete it from their what they have in their course selection list. Every time they are doing this process, they have to make sure that they save. So if for some reason they forget to save, it will not keep any of the courses they've selected. So they can go in and out at any time, but there will be a pop-up message if they do not have the correct amount of courses. So they need to have at least 7 in their list of courses. But every time they go in there, they need to make sure they save. So that's one of the things that we reiterated to them, that they need to save every time they add courses. But they can go in and out up until the time that we close the portal and add and change courses to make sure that they build the correct schedule for the next, you know, year coming up. And that's how we kind of went over the process with them. So we want them to make sure that they're mindful of the process, that they're looking at what they need for courses, that they're looking at the prerequisites, that they're building their schedule based on what they need. And when we go through the 4-year plan, it'll kind of go through what classes they need to take and that they're kind of following, you know, which courses come next. So, you know, as a freshman, what they should be taking, as a sophomore, what they should be taking, and so on. But to add the courses, all they have to do is select the course, confirm the course, and it will go into their course selection for next year. To take it out, they press the X, it will delete it, and they need to save when they're done adding their courses.
Yes, and just to keep in mind that when students have half-year courses, it's not just 7 courses. It's the half-year course has to be, it fills 7 periods. So they might have 4 full-year courses and the rest half-year, but it has to fill 7 periods. So it's important for students to understand it's not just counting 7 courses. It's making sure 7 periods of courses is filled. As Mr. Mullen said, the study period, or the academic period as we call it, at BG will be added over the summer. So the student does not have to pick an academic period. If they pick the 7 periods, full 7 periods, including half year courses, then we will know that they have that space available in their schedule to put the academic period in. All right. Anything else, Mrs. Boudreaux?
No, that is it.
Not sure why it doesn't want to. There we go.
All right, so I'm going to take a little time to talk about the importance of a balanced schedule. And excuse me, on Monday, we did have a chance to meet with the rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So we had a captive audiences, I should say, but we really did stress the importance of maintaining a balanced schedule because a lot of our students are trying to balance academics, extracurricular activities, sports, jobs outside of school, and we really want their mental health to be healthy. So when we talk about the balanced schedule, because our 3 levels, college prep, honors, and AP, they're all very rigorous. So we want them to be balanced. So we talked to them a little bit about, playing to your strengths. So if you're a history or a humanities student, maybe you want to explore looking at some honors classes in those disciplines and maybe, doing some college prep level in math or science. On the contrary, if you're a math or science kid, you're a STEM kid, maybe you want to talk to your teachers and explore taking some honors classes at, in those disciplines. Who makes decisions about level placement and why? So basically, the honors students are recommended for placement by their teachers and the individual department chairs, and those conversations are already taking place. We encouraged our students to start having those conversations with their teachers if they're interested in taking the honors or AP courses. Any student who's recommended for an AP class, an advanced placement class, has to sit for the mandatory AP exam. So there's a process in place where they have to talk to the department chair. They receive a contract. It's a binding contract that outlines the requirements of the AP courses, and it has to be signed by the department chair, the school counselor, student, and the parent. So students will be placed in the AP course only after the contract is signed by all of those parties. So we do not recommend that a student takes more than 3 AP classes because they do require an extreme amount of work, almost 2 hours of homework, 90 minutes to 2 hours of homework per night per AP class. And again, because some of them are balancing jobs and sports, we want them to be able to sleep. We don't want them to experience, any burnout really. So that is an important piece too. Again, we do not recommend that they take more than 3 AP classes. So I'm going to, unless I've missed anything, throw it back over to Mrs. Futrell and she'll talk a little bit about the 4-year plan.
So what you see now is the 4-year plan, which is also in the back of the program of studies. And this is what Mr. Mullen was referring to when he said students could refer to this when building their 4-year plan. And on the back cover is a blank copy for students to build their 4-year plan. And when using page 3, they can fill in the requirements that they need for graduation to make sure that they cover everything that they need when planning for, the graduation and meeting the requirements, and then putting in their electives. So if we go through every year, you can see for freshman year, there are half-year courses that on the other side, if filled in with gray, are electives they can put in or just classes they can take. So all students need to take computer exploration or exploration of computer science, an intro to literature class, art, PE, algebra, or a math course, the Bible, biology, and then the citizenship and government course, or we call it civics, and then a language course. It varies for students, but this is a typical freshman schedule. They have the opportunity to fill in, other things that they may like, or they will be placed in other areas depending on what, the department chair sees will fit best for them, but this is what a typical schedule will look like. Now their class may run at a different, when we say it's a half-year course, their study may be first semester for one period. So if their computer class and their art class is the first half of the year, then their PE and their civics class will be the second half, and their study will run opposite of that. But that is what a typical schedule will look like. Some students may not take language when they first come in for whatever reason. And if that's the case, they may choose to put something else in that place, and that's okay. They may decide to take another art class, or they may have an extra computer class after they've taken computer exploration. We work with them in filling in that class. Some students have chorus or band. They may not have a study because of that. And that is things that we work in when students come in. If a student decides in their sophomore year that they didn't like the language they've taken, they will have to take 2 years of a different language if they've changed. So let's say they started with Latin and they want to change to Spanish. They have to take 2 years of the same language. That's a question that always comes up. So just to answer that now, when you come here, it's 2 years of the same language. So if you decide to change your language after freshman year, you have to change and take 2 years of the same language. So in sophomore year, you need to take another half year of another computer course. That can happen sophomore, junior, senior year. Then you're taking your lit, if you want, another half year of an art. Then you have health, another math course. It's usually geometry, Catholicism, your chemistry course. You have a full year of world history, and then another language course. This is probably the year that's most difficult because they only have a half year that they can fill in with a credit. So it's usually, like I said, either the computer or the art. For students that are in bands, it's already kind of selected for them because, or course, because that's a full year course. So there's not much wiggle room in that year. In junior year, it opens up a little bit because there is not a requirement for a science course. So that's where they have a little more flexibility. Most of our students will take a science course in their junior year. We do offer, there's a variety, but most kids tend to lean towards taking either the anatomy and physiology or environmental science, but there are other offerings such as chemistry 2 honors if they'd like. Some students, if they are if they're given the opportunity, could take physics honors. So it really depends on what their department chair and their teachers approve them for. But again, it's based on teacher approval for any courses that you take. So as you see, and based on what the course requirements are in the program of studies, it explains it all. You have to take another English, and then you have your math, you have your Catholic ethics class, then the science, it's open to you to decide what you want to do. You have US history, and if you continue to do so, language. We highly encourage students to stick with language for colleges and take at least 3 years of the same language because it helps with the college application process. So 3 years tends to be wonderful when you're looking at colleges, 4 years even better. But if you can stick with 3 years of the same language, it's definitely great when you're looking at the college process. And then in the senior year, that's when there's a lot more in terms of flexibility for students. But as you can see, they need to have their literature class. And again, it can be British literature, it can be honors or AP. It depends on the student and where they're at. And then they take their math. They have 2 half years of theology, and there's some different classes that they can take in that area. In the program of studies, again, when you look through it, it breaks down what opportunities there are for students to take. And then there's physics that they take, and then they have to take a econ. It's required for everybody, and a half-year social studies course. There are various options for them to take there. And again, language, again, we encourage students to continue with it because it shows that commitment to language, which looks excellent for college applications. When you're going through the program of studies and you're looking at, this 4-year plan, again, trying to have a very consistent and a very rigorous one is something you want to keep in mind. And if you're looking to take challenging courses and you're deciding, well, geez, I'm getting A's in all of my college prep classes, why would I want to challenge myself if I'm doing so well? Getting a B in honors classes shows that challenge, and we really encourage students to take that challenge, because when you're looking at the weight that is assigned to classes, and a B in honors class shows that you're willing to take that challenge, and we'd rather see a student get a B and take that challenge than just kind of coast or take the college prep route and not take on the challenge. It also gives you the opportunity to expand your horizon and try different things and to get to that AP level, because if you don't take the honors level, you can't get to the AP level, and take different courses and play to your strengths. If you're not going to take courses like that you enjoy, like maybe in the humanities or in the STEM, you won't have that opportunity if you don't try the honors classes to get to the AP level. There are some students as well that may be interested in going into, let's say, engineering. And when you're looking at the program of studies and you're planning out for your 4 years, one of the things, if you're thinking, I want to do engineering, they're going to be looking for a very intense STEM program. And one of the things they'll be looking for is, did you challenge yourself in the math science area? A lot of schools are going to be looking for, did you take a calculus program? Are you strong in AP Calc? And if you're not in that range, if you don't have that track or that trajectory, it's going to be something that they're going to wonder, well, why were you not taking those types of classes? So we work with students in that and trying to plan 4 years. And that's why it's nice to have this outline, this 4-year plan in the back of the program of studies, and to kind of work on that 4-year plan in the book. And that's why we do it every year with the students, and we have these programs. And so that just kind of gives you an idea. We also have courses like AP Stats. So if you're doing more the humanities side and you're thinking, maybe I want to do psychology, or maybe go into something with nursing, that can work too. And we always encourage students, if they're going to do AP Bio, to take maybe a Stats or AP Stats in their senior year. So those are just some things that we work with when we're doing the 4-year plan. So now I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Mrs. Poznansky to do mark your calendars.
I'm just going to also comment that when you look at the 4-year plan and you see things that everybody has to take, there are multiple offerings of those. So it's not as if the PE courses are only offered semester 1 and the art courses are offered semester 2, or the health course is only offered in the first semester, and then another class is offered, a computer course is offered in the second half. They're pretty spread out over the 2 semesters, so that gives us flexibility in making sure that all students get enrolled in the courses that they want and need. As Mrs. Leonard said, the master schedule that we build is driven by these course selections, and that's why it's so important to be really thoughtful and mindful of how students select courses. And there's a big jump between registering for your sophomore year classes and registering for your junior year classes, because there are more options for juniors, and then obviously for seniors even more so. So we go over the senior schedule with our juniors in January of their junior year. So they've had a little bit more time to think about this than the rising sophomores, rising juniors. Our rising seniors have had this information pretty much since the end of January, and they've been starting to think about sort of what classes are important to them. They're starting to visit colleges, so they're starting to understand what courses will help them in majors they might be interested in. So this process, so to speak, of course selection and thinking about your 4-year plan continues throughout the college process. So it's important to really think that through. As Mrs. Boutrell said, if you're interested in sort of engineering or the physical sciences, you always want to plan a very strong math science, but other majors, you might not have to do a really high level in that, but maybe an honors level or college level. And then in something else, you want to make sure that you really challenge yourself with a higher level course. So it's all about kind of really discerning and thinking this through and being intentional as to how this plays out. But at the end of the day, the very basic program, if a student doesn't take any honors courses at all throughout their 4 years at BG, there are plenty of colleges that will look at that student favorably. Our program is college prep. Every single course you see in front of you is a college prep course. In other words, there's requirements that of writing, of assessment, of memorization, all those things all happen if it's in a PE course or it's in a chemistry course. So there is requirements that make it a college prep course. Our courses are weighted, so that's where I think the question about whether or not you take an honors or not can be tricky. But as Ms. Boutrell said, colleges won't even look at you if you don't have those courses. At least try 1 or 2 on your schedule. Not everybody is an honors level student, and that's okay. As I said, the basic program is, there are colleges that are very happy to take our students because they do so well in the freshman curriculum of their college, and that's what they're looking for. Can they manage our freshman curriculum and do it successfully? And this program, at its very basic level, prepares students to be very successful freshmen in college. And if you're a successful freshman, you're going to be a successful sophomore, junior, or senior. So I think it's going to Mrs. Tenza, right, for the mark your calendar?
Yeah. Thank you. So some of these dates have changed, like Mrs. Leonard said, because of the nor'easter this week. We had to push back some of our dates, and we have extended the selection process for our students. The portal opened on Monday at 3 for all of our students, and we will extend that until next Friday, March 24th at 8 a.m. That gives our students the opportunity to have conversations with their teachers, have conversations with their counselors to get a better sense of what they should be selecting. Students can view their final request in MyBG on April 4th. That's when they'll get an idea of what their schedule, what classes they will have been enrolled in for next year. That'll be April 4th. And at that point, we as counselors will start to have the conversations with the students who maybe weren't approved for an honors class. We'll be able to tell them why they weren't approved and go through the program of studies with them a little bit more to show them if they had met the prereqs or if they have not. But we'll have those conversations with our students after April 4th. The signed AP forms will be due in the counseling office on March 30th. So any of those students who are trying to take an AP class next year, they will have those binding contracts signed and into the counseling office on March 30th. March 31st, we will be having our career fair here at school. Juniors and seniors will have an opportunity to go down into the field house and meet with people from all sorts of disciplines. I think we have engineering, nursing, business, attorneys. I know Mr. Mullen's been working hard on that. Mr. Mullen, am I missing who? If you could just speak to some of the other guests who will be here.
No, you're on point. There's a wide array of people ranging from people within the health science field, the business field, the legal field, and the computer science STEM field. So we have about 35 to 40 professionals, and like you said, in a variety of fields that the students will have a few minutes to interact with, similar to a job fair, and kind of pick their brains as to what they did to get to where they are, and everything we did was purposeful so that they have course selection, then they have the career fair, and then that leads into the college fair on the 5th. So hopefully they've used that time wisely so that when we have the college fair, they can interact with the representatives from over 100 schools to kind of see what schools are out there that have their similar interests or potential majors that they maybe want to look at applying to over the next year or so.
Right, thank you. And like Mr. Mullen said, the following Friday on April 5th, we will be having our college fair. I think over 100 schools at this point have signed on to represent themselves at Bishop Guertin that day. So that will be exciting. July 28th, preliminary schedules will go out to the students. And can't believe we're already looking ahead to the first day of school for the 2022-23 school year, but that will be August 22nd. We'll all be back in the building, so that will be exciting.
Scary.
Yeah, exciting and scary.
Yeah.
So here's a list of our email addresses. If anybody has questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We were joking around with the students at this point. Hopefully they know who their counselor is. I think that they all have that under control, but please feel free to reach out to us with any questions. This can be a confusing process, especially, you know, our sophomores have not done this online because as freshmen, the schedule was made for them. So this is their first time going through this process, and for you parents as well too.
So we did have some questions, and we thought some parents had sent in to us, and we thank you for doing that. And we're sorry again for the snow delays and all of that. And there is a joke around school that anything the school counseling department tries to schedule, there's a snow day, or some sort of weather event. So we are getting a reputation. It happened with our college info night this year, and it has happened notoriously for this program. So we're happy to be able to present it to you one way or the other. But here are some questions, and I'm going to ask the counselors to answer them for us. Is there a way to select preference for first or second semester for half-year courses?
So I think we talked about that earlier in that most classes run first and second semester. So if that is something that the student wishes to do, then they should probably talk to the counselor when we don't know how the schedule is going to break down until after it's run through the system. So they can certainly make a note of that on their course selection process, and then we will do whatever we can do to accommodate that. In some instances, it just isn't possible, but that's a case-by-case basis. So if your son or daughter is thinking about that, just have them make a note of that on their course selection sheet, and then the counselors can see that when we see everything.
Great, thank you, Ms. Mullen. My student is interested in the computer science classes. Are there any particular math courses that would need to be recommended for those classes?
No, typically not. Because once you take the computer exploration course, which is run in the freshman year, and they're usually come in with a good basis when they're in their freshman year. For their math course, they're set for the other courses that follow. So usually that is a good basis. And if there's any question, we do send them to the department chair, Mr. Indelicato. But there's, you know, in the program of studies, there's a flow chart of classes that they can take in terms of the computer science. So we usually would go through that with them too and what their interests are. But we will follow that in terms of helping them. But because they take that computer exploration, it opens up the door to the different courses that we have in the department.
Great, thank you. There's an AP course that I'll answer in the next section of this presentation. But what is the biggest difference between getting A's in college prep course versus B's in honors level? Will colleges look at those overall GPAs? And our honors classes weighted differently than college level classes? I think we touched a little bit on the beginning of this, that it's it's definitely important to challenge, a student challenges themselves. But not everybody is an honors or an AP student, and that does not mean that they are not college bound. Colleges do look for an upward trajectory, or at least if the student is already sort of a high level student, that they maintain that level. So it's kind of individual to the student and also individual to the college. But we do have a weighted GPA process. So AP courses are weighted more heavily than honors, and honors are weighted more heavily than college level. And that can be found in the front pages of the POS. And you can see the whole breakdown based on what grade a student will get. But the idea here is not just the grade, it's the experience of a course. So in an honors level course or an AP level course, students are challenged a little bit more, is a little bit more content, and there's more depth to the course. So an AP course is considered a college level course, and I'll get into that in a minute. So there's differences in how they're viewed. That does not mean the basic curriculum is not college ready. It is. It's just a difference of types of schools a student might be applying to. Student is applying to a top tier school, they're going to be up against competition of students who have taken a lot of those upper level courses. So it sort of depends on the student, depends on the type of school they're interested in, depends on the type of major they're interested in. There's some majors that are a lot more competitive right now than other majors, such as nursing, occupational therapy, physical therapy, engineering. And so those courses, by virtue of competition of applicants, may be looked at differently by college. So let's see. Can a senior who already has 21 credits take less than 7 credits, like perhaps 6 credits, so long as the required ones are accomplished?
No, they cannot. They need to take the full 7 credits that are required by BG in order to graduate. So, no.
They have to be here for 7 periods. They have to have that schedule. Thank you. Is it true that criteria, and I'll talk about this in a minute. Again, it's another AP question. How should a student decide whether to take honors courses or college level courses? Do the teachers place the student? What are other factors to be considered?
So for this question, the teachers and the department chairs do place the students in terms of honors and AP when it comes to that. But I also think that a good thing for students, and we talk to the students about this, is balance. So I think, and again, it goes back to, challenging yourself. But I think it's also a balance. So we talk to the students about play to your strengths. So if it's an area of interest and, you don't major in something in high school, but what is it that you might be looking to do in the future? What are some things you enjoy? What are some things you're doing outside of school? Are you very busy outside of school? Are you playing sports? Do you have a job? Are you involved in clubs? We want to make sure that all of those things are taken into account so that a student can make sure that they're taking care of themselves, as well as, they have that time to focus on their mental well-being, as well as taking on everything else, because taking an honors course will increase their homework amount, especially if they're taking more than one, or if they're taking 2. And so those are some things we talk about. So if the teachers recommend 3 or 4 honors classes, that's going to increase the amount of work they have. So that's how we kind of work through that process. And for some students, they can take on a whole host of them, just like they can take on a number of AP classes. And for some students, it's which ones do we really think we can take, and where do we have to back off, and it's whatever works for the student and they're comfortable with. So that's how we kind of work through that process. And we want to make sure they have the best experience that they can have here. So that's how we kind of talk through the process with the students.
Thank you, Mrs. Boudreaux. How can a student research what courses are required to get into a certain major at a university after graduation, so that the student can make sure to plan for these courses in high school? Where is this information usually found?
So again, you don't major in something. And as Mrs. Poznansky has said, and we've been talking about, all of the courses that we offer are college prep and ready for students to be college bound. And so there's nothing that they can't take that's gonna prepare them for their college, when they get to college. I can tell you from experience that my daughter that left here and went into a nursing program was more than ready with the classes that she had. As a matter of fact, she told me that her first year, she felt like she was repeating some of the courses she had when she left here. So they are ready when they leave. So it really is dependent upon, if your child wants to do engineering, then that's something that they should talk to their counselor about, but not every student knows right away what they want to do. So as long as they're taking courses where they're feeling successful, and if it's college prep all the way, they'll be ready when they go to college, because there's a college for everyone. If it's a mix of college prep and honors classes, college prep, honors, and AP, whatever it is for that student, then they will be college ready. There's a college out there for them, but it's really finding that balance and making sure that they're well-rounded, because they also want to be able to have things outside of school to make their resume as the best it can be for when they're ready to leave here. So that's really what the whole experience is. And many students change their mind on what they want. So we kind of talk through that whole process as students are thinking about their future. But if a student knows they want to do something when they walk through the door, then that's something they should talk to their counselor about when they're coming in the door. But most students don't, as a freshman, know what they want to do when they're going to go into college. So anything they take will prepare them for what they're ready to do when they leave BG.
Thank you. So on to advanced placement. The reason we separate this out again is because not every student is an advanced placement student, and that's okay. As Ms. Boutrout just said, as we've all been saying, it's about balance, it's about mental health, it's about being involved. High school is not just courses and trying to, kind of corral yourself into a program when you might change your mind. And also experiences, meeting friends, being part of the school community is so important. And college admissions offices are looking for involved students. They're looking for students who have had other experiences and are not just singly focused on academics. So basically colleges want it all. And so students can have it all as long as they, again, go back to what all the counselors have been saying: balance, balance, balance. Look at their schedule and have it's always going to be stressful at certain times, right before midterms, when research papers are due, things like that. That's always going to be a stressful time in a student's schedule. But if it's constantly stressful from the minute they start school in August to the end, it's not a healthy environment for them, and then they feel very overwhelmed, and then they can't do some of the things they love or really experience something that they're passionate about. So we really do stress that whole balance thing. And when we send information to colleges, we also share with the colleges that we highly recommend only 3 AP classes. And again, it goes to helping the colleges understand what we offer, how we offer it, and what our recommendations are. So if a student only has 3 or only has 1, it gives the college a sense as to why we're saying that. So advanced placement course requirements. Advanced placement at Bishop Guertin is really letter to the law. So the advanced placement program is a college board program that is universal. So a student taking this course in Oklahoma, another student taking this course in Manhattan, another student taking this course in Germany are all taking the same curriculum of this advanced placement course. So there are requirements that the College Board asks of every school who is going to offer an AP course to follow a certain curriculum, and we have to go through a course audit and a teacher audit in order to put it into our program of studies. So at BG, we are very blessed to have 20 offerings of AP courses that are in person, taught by the teacher. Lots of schools have AP courses, but they're taught through VLAX or another online program, where we are fortunate enough to have one, the faculty that can, two, the support of the administration, and three, the interest of the student to be able to run these courses. And we're very, very pleased and happy to be able to do that. But the advanced placement course requirements are a little different. The prerequisites are a little bit more rigorous. The requirements of the actual course are a little bit higher. It is taught as a college level course. It is not a high school level course. It's a college level course. So the course expectations are that students have to buckle in and be taught as a college student. And so it may be the first time a student gets a C ever in their whole career when they take an AP course. It's a college level course. So there's going to be more depth, more content, faster pace, more outside independent work. So if your student is not that student or is that student, that's when you consider where AP fits in their world and in their schedule. As we said, the number of AP courses and the balance is so important. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was Mrs. Leonard or Mrs. Tenza who talked about the AP contract. The AP contract is something that we establish so that students have clear and detailed explanations of the course and what of the AP program and what it entails. Couple things to consider. All the things I just said, and that once a student is enrolled in an AP course, just because they get that first C does not mean they can get out of the course. They are signing into the course right now, and that signature on that contract states that they will remain in the course until they finish the course with the AP exam. So even if it's a little hard and they're struggling, they need to stay in the course. That's what the signed contract says. So please, when your student brings that contract home, you read it very carefully and understand the criterion for the class. Once that class begins, the student is in. Now, that doesn't mean in the next week or so, a student signs up for it and then decides not to do it, they can't change it. It's once the class begins, they cannot drop out of the class just because it's too hard, or they didn't think it through, or their grade isn't what they're used to getting. It's a different type of course. So that's why we ask that students be very intentional at this point and understand what it's all about. This AP contract has to be signed as the counselors have been saying and brought back. It's signed by the department chair, the student, the parent, and is brought back to the counselor and kept on file. And the reason for that is that we want to make sure everybody involved understands the contract and understands what the pieces of the contract represent. And one of those is the advanced placement test. So the advanced placement test is required at the course for any student that takes an AP course at BG. The test has a cost to it. It's $98. That is a price set by College Board. We try not to embellish that price. It is part of our curriculum, so we want to make sure that we're just paying College Board and not paying anybody else for that. So it's very important that you understand that there is a cost to it. The advanced placement test. The advanced placement tests take place in May. They're the first 2 weeks of May typically. The course is a summation of the entire year. Students at BG do really well. They're graded on a 1 to 5 scale, and we have most of our students do 3 or better. Our 4s and 5s are outstanding, but the average score is something like of all the students that take AP, it comes out to be something like a 3.8 or 3.9, which is really high and way beyond the national average. Why do we have them take the test? Because again, this is a college prep course or a college level course, And at the end of a college level course, what happens? You sit for an exam. So at the end of the semester, you have your finals. This is exactly what this course sort of represents, that 3-hour final that you would take in a college. So as Ms. Futrell was saying about her daughter, she was so prepared. Well, these students get to college, they're incredibly well prepared based on taking even one of these courses. The preparation for these courses is just doing well in the classes that they're in, challenging themselves, as Ms. Futrell had mentioned earlier. By taking an honors course is how you get into the AP level. So if you're really interested, let's say in computing, and you want to take an AP class in computing, take the honors level programming course, and you can move into an AP level course. Same with English, same with math, same with social studies. We have AP levels in all subjects except for PE, theology, and theology. Those are the only two that we don't have AP courses in. So there's all these opportunities. We even have AP Art. So there's all these opportunities for students to be able to take an AP course even in their passion, like AP Music. So we're very excited to be able to offer it. The preparation, though, is they have to meet the prerequisites, and all the prerequisites are listed in the program. How does this play out for college admissions? I think we've mentioned a lot of that. Is that an AP course gives the college obvious insight as to whether or not the student can handle a college course. So it's a little bit of a step up in that the student can show that they are capable of handling that. The AP exam, however, has nothing to do with the application process. So the results of the test, because the students take the test in May, they don't get their scores back until July. Well after, especially for seniors, well after the college admissions process. In fact, the college admissions applications and college admissions offices in colleges don't even ask for the test scores. They want to see that the student has taken the course. So a lot of students will take an online course and take an AP test thinking that that's going to help them in the college process. It may or may not. Because they don't ask for the scores. So if a student is taking a course that we do not offer outside of the school, it may or may not help them, and it may just add a lot of stress. So we really encourage students, if they're going to take an AP course, they take it here at BG, so it can be put on their transcript, and the college can see that they are involved in that program. So, and colleges are looking for students who challenge themselves, who work hard, but are not just academicians. They want students that are well-rounded, as all the counselors have said. So AP just adds to that sort of well-roundedness academically, but also hopefully, if by only taking 3, the students can still continue their involvement in athletics, in clubs, in organizations, their passions of music, and maybe a job, or maybe they, have to babysit at home, whatever it may be, that they have those opportunities to have the time to do that. So some of the questions I got: if my junior is taking AP Calc AB this year, would they always take AP Calc BC, or do some take AP Statistics? So there's two different calculus courses in the AP program. AB would be the first one, and BC is the second one. Again, it depends on what the student might be interested in. If the student is interested in engineering, they absolutely have to take BC. And they also need to think about if your student is currently a sophomore and they are not in honors chemistry, it's going to be hard to get to AP Physics. So if they're in honors chemistry now, they will take honors physics their junior year and AP Physics their senior year. Physics is the only AP course that requires a prereq of like the honors level course before it in a way. And what I mean by that is that you're almost taking two physics. The problem is that the AP physics course is really like a 2-year course that we boil down into this process. So it's honors physics and then the AP course because it's mechanics and electrical. So you have to, there's a lot of basic physics concepts that they learn in the physics honors that prepare them for the very specific parts of the AP program. Some schools offer AP physics over 2 years. They break it up. We do it this way, so that if the student decides after physics honors that AP physics is not for them, they've met a graduation requirement. Okay, so it's just a little different way of looking at it. However, if the student is interested in health sciences or humanities of some sort, and they want to take AP Bio their senior year, they will need to take stats, some stats course. So that might be what they do. They take in concert AP Bio and AP Stats together. So they don't have to take the Calc BC. It sort of depends on where the student is heading. The student will be facing a very, very, very strong calculus program and science program and an engineering program. In health science, the same, but it starts out a little slower and then it moves to a quicker pace. Engineering, they hit the ground running right out of the gate. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, you hit the ground running right out of the gate. So students have to really be sure that those are the areas that they want to study. AP Chem is completed in the sophomore year. Can they take AP Bio their senior year? Yes. The AP Bio program has been moved to the senior year, and again, it goes back to the idea that they need statistics to really support that course. So it gives the student time to take the statistics course and take AP Bio senior year. But students should always be in the honors level prior. But with the case of if a student advanced and jumped over Bio and they're going into their sophomore year and they're already in AP Chem or honors Chem, they probably want to take one of the elective sciences or AP Chemistry if they're in honors in their junior year, or the physics honors. Let's see, what else? Is it true that the offering name has been changed now that it's for seniors? Yes, and honors chemistry is the prerequisite for AP Chem and for Bio. So if there's if there's any questions about any of this, please feel free to shoot us an email and we'll be happy to answer it, because some of these are just very specific. We're answering these questions without seeing the student's profile in front of us, and that can always be a little tricky. So feel free to contact your counselor for any of more specific questions about that. Counselors, is there anything that I may have left out about AP?
Nope.
Okay, so just keep in mind, the department chair makes that decision based on recommendations from the teachers. Students should be having conversations with their teachers. If they don't get into the level they want, again, talk to your counselor, but also have a conversation with the teacher and see if there's a possibility that they need to do something to maybe get into that level at a future date. So it's important that those conversations are had, and they're open conversations, and students need to be sure when they talk to their teacher, they're telling them why they want to do that, not just why am I not in that level. And I think that would be a very helpful conversation. All right, is there anything else that the counselors can think of?
No.
All right. All right, well, we thank you very much for reviewing this webinar, and we hope it was helpful, and we wish you a happy spring, and we're here for your students whenever they need the support or help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.